I love making games. Is music, the sound effects, the visuals, the effects, the movement, the what it's doing to the player, the emotions that you can get out of somebody. All of that stuff is, you can do that in movies, but you can do it even more so in a game.
This is Doom, a game originally released for MS-DOS 30 years ago this month. Doom was one of the original first-person shooters, one of the first games with an active modding community, and has been so enduring that it's been ported to everything from ATMs to the iPhone. The iPhone version may seem like an inconsequential chapter in Doom's 30-year history, but the iPhone and Doom share an ancestor. Even the latest version of iOS can trace its roots back to another product created by Steve Jobs, the Next computer.
John Carmack got excited about this Next computer, and he was very excited about this new workstation because it wasn't the hardware, it was the software, it was the operating system that looked like it was just light years ahead of DOS.
Steve Jobs is most famously known for his role creating the Macintosh, but after he left Apple in 1985, he started work on what he thought was the next big thing. These jet black machines didn't sell very well, but they were used by many ambitious developers to make ambitious things. In late 1990, Tim Berners-Lee wrote the first web browser on a Next computer. 1 year later, John Carmack of id Software saw one and decided to move his team over to the Next.
We decided to do everything different with Doom. So we changed our development platform. Doom was 100% created on Next Step from beginning to end.
This is the story of the tools that built Doom. id Software was founded in 1991, making PC games. While both PCs and gaming consoles had been around for over a decade, their hardware was very different. A $2,000 486 PC was a great general-purpose system that let you run all kinds of applications right alongside each other, but $200 consoles like the Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo were designed for a single thing: games. Their designers put in special graphics hardware that would make it easy for game developers to get smooth motion and flexible graphics. To compensate for the PC's stodgy graphics hardware, id's games featured novel rendering methods that made them one of the most successful developers for the PC platform. id's first big release, 2 years before Doom, was Commander Keen. John Carmack's clever programming tricks made Keen one of the first PC platformers to smoothly scroll in all 4 directions, a feat previously only available in console games like Sonic or Mario. id's second big release, Wolfenstein 3D, is considered the original first-person shooter and the first DOS game to attempt 3D graphics. Rather than using a true 3D engine like today's games do, Wolfenstein used a technique called raycasting to render the image directly in front of the player. It also often used 2D images to represent enemies and other objects within the world. After Wolfenstein, id created Doom. Doom also involved technological improvements. Wolfenstein 3D's levels could only handle walls at 90-degree angles and a single ceiling height. Doom's engine was much more flexible and allowed for richer maps. But much of the innovation was in the story, tone, and gameplay. The id team were inspired by Dungeons & Dragons and wanted to create a darker, grittier game than they'd gotten with Wolfenstein. Creating a darker mood means designing characters, weapons, and levels. Before technical work started in earnest, creative director Tom Hall wrote a long-form creative brief called the Doom Bible, outlining the tone and gameplay mechanics. Meanwhile, John Carmack had been experimenting with a new computer system, the Next.
We used to develop games for DOS using DOS, like Wolfenstein and Commander Keen and all the other games. Like in 1991, we made 13 different games.
While DOS was hands down the most popular consumer operating system in 1993, it was developed over 10 years earlier and lacked stability as well as advanced features like graphics and networking. After the initial concept art had been done, Doom characters were sculpted into clay.
It was really, really cool doing this video captures of characters, like physical creatures, and that like shortcutted so much work for all the animations, the rotations of them, and everything that we were doing. It just made things much faster.
One of the Next key features was a fully object-oriented development environment. It wasn't the first system to implement this, but Steve Jobs believed in it so much that he compared developing for DOS to starting on the first floor of a building, whereas developing on Next Step was like starting on the 20th floor. John Carmack saw this power. He credits Objective-C, a programming language invented at Next, with helping them quickly create tools like Doom Ed, the Doom map editor.
I wrote a Next Step app called Doom Ed for Doom Editor. After getting the data structure for the Doom levels, which is basically a line def and sector def, after defining those basically atomic blocks of our levels. We would be in the tool and we would draw, say, a room and place a character in it. And I click the BSP button up there, and then it launches a process, take that and turn it into actual data, and then create the BSP tree, and then save that out as what's called a WAD file. And the WAD file just stood for where's all the data. And it was just the data. There's inside of a WAD file are all the little pieces of the map that all the pieces of data that comprise the idea of a map. That the engine can load and use to make the map, the visibility parts of it and all that kind of stuff. So the process was on my, say, I think it was on my left, I have my DOS computer, and I'm in Next Step, and I create the level really quick, and I BSP it. So I just go over to my DOS machine, I copy the level from the Z drive where where map was, and I just copy it into the Doom directory, and I just run Doom, and Doom loads up, and it runs that little level that I just made, and I let it sit there. And then I go over to the next step. I'm looking at the screen. I'm like, yeah, let me add that over there or whatever. And I go and I modify it on next step, click BSP again, and then I basically get out of DOS, copy it again, just usually up arrow enter because it's just like command, just remembers the command, and then run Doom again with the command line that just loads that level immediately up and runs into it. And there it is. It's new.
Whereas previous id games had all been developed on DOS for DOS, by 1993 there was a better option than developing on DOS. The NeXT computer allowed John Romero, John Carmack, and their team to make great tools and make Doom the revolutionary game it was. Marker. This is... This is Doom.